it shows how the government miscalculated the participation of the people and the real desire for change among the younger generation, the middle class, and eventually all classes of people took part in those protests. And I think the government, step by step, escalated its clampdown, thinking that people would be frightened and will go home, but this did not happen.
And is it likely to happen after a show trial?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Nobody is going to believe in this show trial. The show trial is a farce. I mean, all you had to do is to look at the confession of the leadership of the reformist movement and even of the Iranian American Kian Tajbakhsh. I mean, you immediately concluded that they were forced to say these things, and once they come out, they will recant it if they are given an opportunity.
Let me ask you what you experienced in prison. How difficult were the conditions?
I was in solitary confinement, and solitary confinement and not being able to mix and mingle with other prisoners and just have your guards and the interrogators as your interlocutor was very tough, was very hard. But I was alone in a cell by myself, 24 hours a day with lights on all the time. And I was allowed to go out maybe an hour or 2 hours a day. And otherwise, I was left to my own device unless I was called for an 8 hours or 9 hours interrogation.
Your heart must really go out to the young people who are in prison now.
My heart goes out to the young people. My heart goes out to the Iranian American Kian Tajbakhsh, who was with me in prison and went through that trauma once. He was also in solitary confinement. My heart goes out to everybody. My heart goes out to the leadership of the reform movement who has been forced to make these humiliating confessions. And these are people who worked for the revolution. These are people who were within the system and never even thought of overthrowing the system. They wanted to change within the system.
You spoke when we started out about your greater optimism in the big picture, that this reform movement has changed Iran forever.
Yes, it has, because for the first time in 30 years, you saw the middle class, the lower classes, hand in hand, coming out and just wanting an honest and open election. They didn't want to overthrow the regime. They just had very legitimate demand. Just count our votes and let us know what the result is. And I think that changed the whole image of Iran. For the first time, one forgot about the images of the hostages, and one saw how these young Iranians, nice looking, came out in the street and had a very legitimate demand. But then when we saw them being beaten up, shot, arrested, taken away, you felt that the regime was also, the regime lost its legitimacy, not only inside Iran, but also internationally.